Hello again, St. Lucia, and welcome to the program. You are on the field with me, Philip Sidney, and of course, my guest is Sir Calixte George, who was, of course, responsible for a lot of work that has been done here in agriculture here in St. Lucia. And we are now going to our part two of the program. So again, welcome, Mr. George, to the
Yes.
program. While we ended the first part, you talk about the contribution of Sir Arthur Lewis as far as agricultural economics was concerned to St. Lucia. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Oh well, I think what I told you was the influence that he had
Yes.
from his writings in terms of agricultural development in the tropical world, in terms of the British colonial development. Because don't forget, he was also part of the. First, he worked in the trade department, I think it was, of the British government, and was their advisor to the Colonial Development Corporation and development. There was the Colonial Development and Welfare Fund. So that is the fund that was used to stimulate agricultural development by the British government in the colonies. So as a result of that, I was telling you that he had recommended the Jamaicans, okay, to come into places like St. Lucia to help in agricultural development.
Right.
So his contribution is to the development of the agricultural enterprises in St. Lucia. And that was through the extension work of the Jamaican guys I told you about,
Yeah.
Mullins and Atkinson and so on. That's how you have the Atkinson brothers and so on down here now.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And Atkinson did a lot of work, for
A lot
example,
of
at Marquis
in
Estate
bananas and stuff like
and so on.
that.
And he also did some work, incidentally,
With the
at Beauchamp. I'll come to
Bushel,
that in a while.
yes.
So Arthur, through his writings and so on, as I am saying, I'm trying to illustrate that his writings and his recommendations were influential in active participation of the development of St. Lucia.
Okay.
And these are his books here. These are the volumes.
Yeah.
I have all the volumes, the collected papers of Sir Arthur. And anybody that wants to come and read it, you can come.
Yes, I will.
I'm not letting it out because when you let out your
You
things,
get
you
it
don't
back.
return. But if you want to come and read and,
Yeah.
and know about his things,
Yeah.
you can come to my house and
Definitely. Okay, but let's go back to. I really want to touch on the Agricultural Cadet Corset Union.
No, but before
you want to
before we go to that, let me tell you about the same thing about Atkinson and so on.
Oh, okay, all right.
Now, when Atkinson came here in the diversification, he had an estate called Beauchamp
Yes.
down in Mico. And he had brought down Akis
Jamaican
from
ackee.
Jamaica. And he gave it to me, and I propagated all the Akis for him. Okay? And he used the Akis to establish a big farm down at Beauchamp. All right? And it was the largest Aki farm in the Caribbean, even bigger than those in Jamaica.
Okay.
All right? Because he was interested in the diversification of the agricultural economy of St. Lucia. So himself and a guy, I think it's a Fletcher from Jamaica, and they opened a plant to process the ackee. Okay? And that started off beautifully. I don't know what happened,
Yes.
but it floundered.
Definitely.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But Atkinson had done a very, very good initiative.
Not forgetting his what do you call it? His the tilapia nautica.
Well, that's a different
ball game.
That's a different story. They used to call it T. Atkinson.
T. Atkinson, yeah.
Yeah, that was brought in actually by Scouten,
Yes.
who was the chief agricultural officer, and that's why you have the ponds at Union.
At Union, correct.
Because
right.
that's where it all started off.
Yeah.
The tilapia farming.
Yeah.
And some of the ponds, I think, are still there.
Some of them are still there.
Yeah.
Union Agricultural Station and Union Agricultural Cadets, the course. That was a famous course, sir. I mean...
Well, as I was explaining to you, it started off in 1910 or something like that. Somewhere, I can't remember the exact date, but it's recorded somewhere where I've written on it. and so it continued, and then you have people coming in there to be trained, etc. Ira, for example, Ira Dovey was trained there. Cuthbert Henry and all these guys were trained
Okay.
at Union Agricultural Station. And so I continued that, but I expanded it. And I also expanded the course content.
Right.
So you had different subjects. I infused, for example, I must have pumped chemistry into your head.
Both the organic and inorganic chem. Oh,
Yeah,
Lord have mercy. I
exactly.
can never forget that.
Yeah, you have to understand those things before you could really think.
Yes, man.
So you did a basic science course, and then afterwards you did something on the history of agriculture, and then you did the agronomy, how you grow various crops and so on.
Yeah.
There's also the livestock section, which
Yes.
Mr. Fontenelle,
Yes.
Mr. Fontenelle did the livestock things.
There was engineering too.
And there was engineering. Daisy, you remember
was,
Mr. Daisy?
Daisy, yes.
Yeah, did
that.
engineering.
And then you also had Medrick.
Oh, that's
who did
pathology.
botany
Plant pathology.
I remember that
and so
very
on.
well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can never forget your chemistry. You know, I mean, you were drilling us. You know, I'll tell you one thing about Mr. George.
No, you have to understand.
But you know, what I admired about you was your frankness. You know, and you admit, you know, where mistakes were made, and you were just frank. I mean, I don't think this opportunity gives us enough time to go through. But those were my best days in growing up at Union. And I must say thanks to you.
Well, that's what I was trained for.
Yeah.
I wasn't trained. For the knowledge that I have was for me. The knowledge is to be transmitted.
Yes.
And I'm very glad actually that I was able to transmit whatever little knowledge that I had to you guys.
Yeah,
and I had a whole series of of guys.
And then in the thing about it, you know that's what is interesting. You at the time we were growing, you know, like 16, 17 years old, you know, young guys. I don't know if you knew, but we were scared of you, you know. Because but the thing is, we thought you were being wicked to us, because we call you all kind of names, you know. We call you Jigan, we call you Castro, we call you all kind of names, because I mean you were just drilling us, not realizing you recognize our potential, and you wanted us to obtain that optimal level that we, as far as we were concerned.
Yeah,
and that was
I had to push you all. Push you all.
And I must say, it worked.
That's the way. Of course, you have to, when you're dealing with certain characters like Rigobert, you can't let Rigobert control. Rigobert ain't controlling. He's not only controlling you, you know, but he want to control me.
Yes.
Okay. So fellas like Rigobert and so on, you have to have a strict thing.
You know,
his famous thing was taking the vehicles at night and going down to Miku. You know,
we all learned to drive at Union, eh?
I know, and of course, Rigobert was he was a character.
Yeah.
He is quite a character.
There was this guy that I remember. Sadly, you have to dismiss him. His name was Civila. And I remember.
Who's that? I
don't think you can remember that guy. We were all of us learned to drive on 2115, 547, and the list goes on. Short wheelbase, long wheelbase, Land Rovers. And I remember this guy was a weekend, and then he was reversing by Proud's office, and then he hooked one of the bumpers, and he ripped it up.
Okay.
And so in the morning, you call us to the lecture room, and then you were questioning us, and nobody said anything until he said, "So I was the one," and you sent him home. That was a discipline that
you have to. The first thing.
But the cost.
If you want to progress in life, the first thing is discipline.
Yeah. But you know, the course content was equivalent to UE, you know.
I know.
Jeez.
I made it that way because when I finish with you at Union, right, and you go to EKIAF and so on, you're bound to
you have
this thing.
Let me tell you. I mean, we have to succeed.
You have to succeed.
Yeah, we have to succeed, man.
If you talk to fellas like Polius, Ronnie, and those guys, Ronnie, Poppy.
Yes.
They will tell you that when they went to university, the course that I did with them for statistics, they covered that
No time.
smiling, because I went up to the level
Yes.
of statistical analysis,
Yes.
statistical design, and all that. And Popey tell me when he laughing
He
at
laughing
the
at
fellas because Carlo had already done that with him.
Definitely.
You know?
But sir, a question that I was asked to put to you. We never graduated and we never got a certificate under your watch.
No, you always supposed to get it,
We never got it.
Well, what happened, Mr. Cyril, Mr. Matthew,
Yes.
had made an arrangement with the Ministry of Education.
That's after, yes.
Yes, to give you all a certificate.
Right. We never got it.
And then, in fact, eventually that happened, because, yes.
We never, at the batch that we were in.
Maybe your batch, probably.
But
afterwards, it
yes,
went to the
Mrs.
Matthew,
Reed and Mr.
Mr.
Nuffridge,
Matthew,
yeah.
Mr. Matthew, and so on, had made an arrangement for it to come out from the Mon technical.
Yes, and yes, correct. No, you're right.
Yes,
You're
yes.
right. But our batch never received it.
Oh, probably all did.
Yeah. But let's go back to the landscape of Union Station, sir. I remember when I got in there. I mean, that station was a viable station, and while we were
Well,
there,
it's no longer an agricultural station. You can't call it agricultural.
But you know what was interesting?
Because the whole section there, where I used to do my experiments and so on, it's no longer there. They've desecrated the place.
Definitely.
The only thing that is of value, as far as I am concerned, is the propagation center.
Yes, that's the only thing that's there.
And the propagation center has done very, very, very well, particularly in terms of ornamentals. I still think that they need to expand the propagation of economic crops.
Yes, they do.
Particularly things like
citrus and
mangoes
and
mangoes,
yes.
etc.
I agree with you.
Because St. Lucia, when you look at St. Lucia is a mango country.
Yes.
So if you're talking about future agriculture, you have to concentrate on fruits and things. Now, as you say so, there was another thing at Union which I did, and that was the integration of the crop production with processing.
Right, the agro-processing
and I brought in the what is known as the produce chemist laboratory.
Lab. Yes.
And I had a group of guys,
Mr. Lubin,
like Mr. Lubin, before Mr. Lubin, Mr. Destin.
Yes.
I even had a engineer, Evans.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Evans was a chemical engineer.
Very good guy.
So what I used to do, you remember, I used to grow the passion fruit.
Yeah.
I had introduced passion fruit, and we used to grow the passion fruit, do the experiments. You all take the weight of the fruit and all that kind of thing.
And then,
in fact, that's how Harvest got his name. Remember?
yes.
Harvest. Harvest is always interested in
harvesting.
The things. So the fellas call him Harvest.
Harvest, yeah.
Anyway, we used to get the harvest, bring it to Marjorie into the. You remember Marjorie?
Marjorie, yes.
Into the
lab.
the problem. And then they would do the processing of the fruits, the liqueurs, and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
Because I am personally of the opinion that there is a future for passion fruit in this country.
Oh yes.
Because you can grow the passion fruit on the hills. You see, the same way that when you go to France and Germany and those places, you see they growing the grapes and so on the hills.
Yes.
You can do the same thing
with
here.
the trellises and
the trellises and so on.
Yes.
In fact, up to now, I am still of that view, and I still grow my passion fruit. Okay.
Yes.
On the hillsides up at Marquis. Okay, with the hope that others will do to the extent that we will have an industry of passion fruit, which will give you not only passion fruit juice, but also liqueurs, and things like that. You know?
But when I look back at the landscape, what the Union Station used to be, you know what was sad? You had fun. The first night that came where we had, you remember that orchard we had lower you? There was a citrus and mango, and then the electricity came.
Let me tell you something.
Before you continue, sir, I will end you there because we have a first break for this part of the program. You're watching On the Field with me, we'll do for a break. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is placing heavy emphasis on the concept of food security. It's our prosperity, our future. The Farmer Incentives Program of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is aimed at reducing the cost of production and promoting food security and accessibility. All farmers, fishers and agro-processors who've registered and own a farmer's registration card qualify. These incentives include the percentage reduction of excise tax and import duties for agricultural and fisheries production inputs which are imported. These include approved agricultural products for an approved agricultural project, for example, vehicles, fishing vessels, animals, animal feed, planting materials, and other farm inputs. Farmers can apply by completing the application form and submitting with all relevant documents attached. For further information, contact the Deputy Director of Agricultural Services at 468-4125.
Welcome back to the program On the Field with me. Of course, if you're tuning in now, I'm speaking with Sir Calixte George, of course, a great man who contributed a lot to the agricultural sector here in St. Lucia. Mr. George, you were talking about the landscape of Union that you said earlier on it was desecrated.
Yes.
I mean, I can never forget when I came in as a cadet at Union, you know, we had this orchard at the bottom, the mango and the citrus, and all of a sudden Lucilla came on the power station there, and we had to move that orchard to the hillside.
Well, I cried.
Wow.
When that happened.
Wow.
And I cried. John Compton actually made me cry.
Wow.
Because I couldn't understand how you're talking about agricultural development and you're giving Lucilec permission to put a power station in where an orchard
was already established. Yeah.
It takes a long time for a tree crop, right? And that is the orchard that provides us with the budding and so on to propagate, to produce plants for distribution to farmers.
Yeah.
All right. And no matter how I try to, prevent it and so on, Compton gave it.
Yep, and it was gone.
Gone.
So on the side,
but there was this thing about anything and so on that they on the government union stations.
Yes.
Or from one to the
funding
next.
Scheme.
Funding scheme. Funding scheme again. The Ministry of Agriculture had the best agricultural engineering thing in terms of machinery, etc.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, the St. Lucian population were against bringing of tractors. They said because Scouten, the Superintendent of Agriculture, was the first man who started to bring in tractors and so on.
Okay.
If Scouten didn't bring in tractors and so, St. Lucia would still be making a road with pickaxe and so on. You know, understand? So we had the best agricultural engineering, heavy equipment thing. I mean, the guys were well trained. There was a gentleman by the name of Prout, a Barbadian guy.
Yes, sir.
Who was the mechanical engineer.
Yes.
All right. And then we had very good operators, Fanis.
Yeah, these guys were good. And
there's another Bradford.
There's another guy who was very, very good too. I forget his name.
A lot of them, and they were very well trained. Those guys could go on the hill and do the terraces.
Yes, terracing nicely.
On the contour for you and so on, And then also they did a lot of the feeder roads for the farmers. For the farmers especially. So when you come and you destroy your main tree crop thing and put the thing.
Yeah.
Then you can't go and talk. You go out and talk about diversification of agriculture and so on.
Yeah. Then you had Wasso came in where we had our coffee plots.
Yes.
You took over that there. Yeah. Then you had the housing scheme on the hillside.
Everything they want, they come to Union.
And that's it.
So that's right. So
we had our journey.
I mean, it was that is why I lost my my admiration, let us put it that way, for John Compton. But that's a long story.
Oh, yes, and that's another
That's a
show.
long story. I admired the guy for his contribution to the fight with the Barnards and so on in the Sugar Days. But subsequent to that, I had a lot of fights with him, for example. He became pro-capital and anti-labor, as far as I was concerned, because the problems that he gave us when I was president of the Civil Service Association, you know,
Yeah.
I had to call 3 strikes
Yes, I remember.
against him.
Yeah.
One of them lasted about 60 days. But I don't want to go into
You
that.
know, with
now.
that, we're talking
But
about agriculture.
I respect the man.
Yes,
I think
yes.
he was one of the hardest working guys
It's true.
in St. Lucia. Very, very thing. But somehow or the other, there are certain actions that he took which went against
Yes.
my philosophy.
My philosophy. So what actions, just as you speak, that long building at Union at the time where that housed me, myself, as the agricultural cadet
Well,
course.
that is what I use. That is the house. That house, that was the old cotton thing, you know.
It was it? Okay.
Yeah, we used to grow cotton at one time.
Yeah, I know.
And the cotton ginnery was there.
Okay.
So, and then afterwards it became a storeroom where Mr. Wardrobe was.
Wardrobe was, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Wardrobe,
Uh,
who is the uncle of, I think, a relative of Derek Walcott,
okay.
himself and so on were there. So that was destroyed. That was when I became the Minister of Communications and Works. All right? And I sat down in my office. Rain was falling, and then there was a leakage on my desk, you know. I mean, my desk used to get flooded, you know, with water coming down from the ceiling and so on. The people who were downstairs, water from the toilets and so on used to see downstairs, you know.
Okay.
So the people, when I came in there and I saw that, I couldn't stay there, so I had to go there. And that is why I got Dr. Kenny Anthony to agree for us to have a new Ministry of Communications and Works. I had known every square foot of the land at Union, all right?
Yeah.
And so I got a very good friend of mine, Neville, to design, and it's one of the best designed government buildings in the country.
I agree.
It is thoroughly effective in the delivery of, you know, its services, etc. Even the licenses and so on. I understand now there are problems with that.
Yeah.
I do not know why, but that building is an excellent building in terms of providing facilities for their workers.
Yeah, yeah.
All right? I wouldn't go, you know, the famous thing which, when after I take you out from the mess at La Cour Commerciale, brought you up into a building and so on, and I go in one time, remember the thing about the pizza?
Yes, I remember that. The famous pizza in the garbage.
And you have pizza on your desk. You're supposed to be serving people, you know. I give you very good conditions. I come down there and I asking about the thing. You want to papi show me? Nobody answering. So it doesn't belong to anybody. So I have to throw it away.
But that building should have been ours, eh? As far as I'm concerned, agriculture.
Well, I was no longer the Minister of Agriculture.
I know.
I was the Minister of Communications and Works at the time. You know.
Yeah.
But I thought that was to Union and thing. Now, mind you, in fact, I was trying to get the Prime Minister actually to put his office up there because there's a lot of land.
Yeah, of course, on the hillside and
on
everywhere.
the hillside and so on at the back of us, by where the funding scheme was.
Right,
and so on,
right,
and so on,
right,
at the
right,
bottom
right.
And thing. And in the design, I even had tennis courts and so on, you know, at the bottom.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
And then
You had
the
thing
building, which was for the
across the bridge. Yes.
a recreation
Center.
center.
I remember that.
For
yes.
the CSA and so on and so forth.
No, it was well done. I must say.
Now, as a matter of fact, and I must say so, I am of the opinion that the pressure of housing
Yeah.
in Castries can be solved by some of the lands that we have at Union.
I agree.
You see the problem that is coming up from the CDC buildings,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I can show you at Union where you can go and put some new high-rise buildings, okay, so that you could transfer those people from there to Union.
Okay.
In addition to that, the lands to the east of the Dame Paulette Luisi School.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I was the one who convinced Mario and Dr. Anthony to do the school, the Dame Paulette Luisi School, in that area. Okay? Because you remember the thing with the Castries
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
shift
yeah,
system
yeah,
and all
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there's land at Union. Lands east to that, going up to by Elwyn, empty, you know.
Yes, I know. And that's
It had an old cocoa thing which
yeah.
is
In
gone.
fact, the old Coco Germplasm Bank
Right.
is still there.
It's still
It's
there.
still there. It's still there. Yeah, but there's land available.
That's land
Yeah,
available
yeah,
there,
yeah.
as a matter of fact.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're really serious, I think that the government should purchase the Postlewaite estate, which
Yes.
belonged to
Elwyn's people.
yeah,
Yes.
and all that. In
Going
fact,
all
the
up
new
the
road,
hill.
the new road
It's
going up
passing
there,
through them.
you
Yes,
got
yes,
good
yes,
land
good
there.
land there. Yeah.
So the problem that well, I'm deviating, going away from agriculture, thing. But as it arises, you know, we're talking about Union. There is enough land up there,
there's a lot of land there.
which can be utilized
Yeah.
to alleviate the problems that you have with the CDC buildings down there.
Good. So we're just about to come to a close, but I wanted to talk about where we are, where we were, and where we are now with agriculture, and what's your take moving into the future?
Well, there's always a great future for agriculture as far as St. Lucia is concerned. No matter what you do, you must feed yourself.
Food security.
Food security, okay? As has been said too, even by Sir Arthur again, if you read his things, he says that there has not been enough money devoted to the research on food crops, right, in the Caribbean. So we need to look at how we can improve the productivity of our existing crops that we eat, like our yams, our dasheen, our sweet potatoes, and things like that, okay? And to develop modern systems, mechanical systems, for the production of those commodities. You cannot develop, and again I've said so in my book and the thing, you cannot develop agriculture in the modern world without mechanization.
Yes.
Okay? So you have to take, but you must remember that I used to have those small tractors.
Yeah. Rotovators.
Rotovators.
Harold used to do.
Harold was a master
Yes, at that.
at using the rotovators, right? So you have to introduce those things.
Well, the
throughout the length of breath, I understand that they're bringing in some,
Yes,
but that's not enough.
Yes,
You have to put those things in areas
Yeah.
where the farmers can have access to it at critical times.
And that's what
Because
the minister
again, you cannot use them when it is too wet or too dry.
Correct.
You have to plow the soil at a particular consistency.
Correct.
All right? And it's a very narrow window. So you have to have the things available for the younger boys, the younger men, to use those things, all right, as part of their land preparation and so on and so forth.
I agree.
Okay.
In fact, our minister,
So there is future, provided that you go into things, and particularly in the area of food production. Because if you have your tourist industry, and you have 1 million tourists coming into your island, that means you have to feed 1 million people.
Correct.
So you should be able, right, to produce the food that is going into the thing.
That's right.
Then the food that is going to some of the institutions When, for example, I was the Minister of Internal Security, all right, the Borderley was self-sufficient, you know.
I remember that.
I had them to establish a farm. I had extension officers going there. I had qualified agriculturists working in the thing for both crops
And livestock.
and livestock,
True.
right? They were self-sufficient in eggs and so on. And they used to sell pork
Yeah, they used to.
from Fort Borderley
Broilers.
and broilers and things like that. So there's, in fact, there are areas from government institutions, right, where local farmers can benefit, right? Borderley can feed from feed
Of
itself.
course. And also,
the
also for the
hospital-
hospitals, all right.
the
yeah.
hospital.
Exactly.
The boys' center, all these areas.
Especially now with cassava.
Exactly. The geriatric the geriatric houses, you know, where you have
Yes.
you know
Yeah,
people
yeah.
my age
Yes,
going
yeah.
to and so on and so forth,
Yeah. The homes.
to be fed, right? So there's a big market and a big demand for agriculture in the country, and that's just domestic I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When it comes to the export, as I told you, I'm of the view that some of the hillside lands and so on could be go into places like mangoes
And passion
and
fruit.
passion fruit and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there are export. There's demand for some of the products. For example, dasheen.
Yes, there is a market for that out there.
Right now I'm leasing my place to a fella, and one of the guys that I lease to is growing dasheen on the thing, and he grows good quality dasheen. So I sent him a thing which I got, where St. Vincent and Grenada have a niche market in Florida, okay, and the demand is not being met.
So they can
So you
supply.
We can grow dasheen for export.
Yeah, man. I agree. Yeah, man.
You know, so in addition for the domestic food security,
Yes, for room for
you
export.
could also have export,
That's right.
you know, commodities. The whole issue, for example, of passion fruit, as I mentioned, is another one. There are also demands for some of the newer products like soursop.
Yes.
Grenada
Is
exports,
shipping. Yes.
soursop,
Yes. I agree.
right? So you have to plan out those things and actually put resources, okay, for their development. And so you could have a viable export agriculture as well as a viable domestic agriculture.
Great. Final words for me, sir?
Well, I hope that I've covered, well, I haven't covered everything.
There's a lot more to cover.
There's a lot more to
Yeah,
cover,
but then-
and even in the agricultural field, for example, I haven't said anything about the demise of the banana industry.
I know.
All that I can say about that is that my advice was not followed.
Okay.
I was the one who broke the geese contract for us to do our own things, because we are exploited by geese. Okay? Although we got benefits, we could have got much more greater benefits, because 80% of the profits and so on that are going from the industry went to geese, and we only got 20%. So we had to break that. That's why WIPDECO was formed.
Okay.
And WIPDECO was formed, the philosophy we're having with WIPDECO was that we would have control of the ripening end of the thing. And the profits from that would have been plowed back to the farmers so that the farmers could improve their productivity so that you could compete with the Colombians, you know, and the Costa Ricans and so on. But that didn't happen. Okay? What happened was that the profits, Cornebat used the profits to go into new industries.
Diversify.
Even into doing water.
Water and juices.
And juices. Okay? So the money that was supposed to be plowed back to the growers to improve on their productivity, when I gave them certain warnings, they did not follow my warnings, and that's why the banana industry dropped down.
Yes. Mr. George, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
It is an opportunity I looked forward to. After we put off this interview so many times, I want to say thank you again. I wish you success in your quiet moments, and I'm hoping to read another book. I know that's in motion, I was told.
Well, I have it.
Okay, wow.
That's the section here.
Okay.
That deals with union.
Okay, wow, interesting. All right.
So you can take it and read if you want. Because there are a lot of things which I didn't cover. We just couldn't cover.
You couldn't cover all, yeah.
You couldn't cover all.
But
that. But I am writing my autobiography, and all these things will be coming in.
Beautiful.
I have a section. In fact, the section of union, I didn't even include it in the section that you're talking about, the school.
Yes.
I didn't even include it in there.
Okay.
I had a separate chapter where I call it the educator.
Okay.
Because as far as I am concerned, I am alive to educate. There's no point in being educated yourself,
right,
and not doing anything about the education of others.
Correct.
The important thing is you must leave a legacy.
Pass it on.
Yeah, you must. And I'm very glad that I perhaps again, I became an educator. Anything I do, I always like to pass on the information to people. And again, that might have been influenced by my grandmother, who was a teacher, and all my aunts were teachers.
Yes.
You see,
yes,
so
yes.
there's that linkage.
Yeah.
In education. In fact, my greatest joy actually is the legacy that I've left with you guys.
Yes, I know.
Because I can tell you, those guys who were very well educated, I educated those guys very well, and they have done very, very well.
Yes.
You know, all of you all.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't want to mention names.
I know. Thank you again, Mr. Jordan. I wish you success in your retirement. And
Thank you very much.
Your cool moments. Thank you.
You're very most welcome.
You have been watching the program On the Field with me, Philip Sidney, and you've heard and you've seen my guest, the great Sir Calixte George, who, of course, had many portfolios and contributions to the agricultural sector and more. Thank you again for your viewing. I'm Philip Sidney saying goodbye, and see you again.